the Spectres Mirror. In the quiet, quirky town of Hogsmeade, nestled between Zonko's joke shop and Honeyduke's, stood the Three Broomsticks Inn. On a chill October evening, as rain pattered against the windows, Luna Lovegood sat alone in the corner, her nose buried deep in an ancient leather-bound book titled The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. Her spoon tapped softly against her half-empty teacup, keeping rhythm with the distant rumble of thunder. Luna was not like other teenage girls. Her tall, gangly frame seemed perpetually hunched over some odd book or another, her silvery blonde hair often obscuring her eyes behind large, round glasses that were in desperate need of cleaning. She had a knack for saying the most extraordinary things with the utmost sincerity, whether they were about giant squid sightings in the Hog's Head or the true nature of the Room of Requirement being a portal to Narnia. Suddenly, the inn's door creaked open, letting in a gust of cold air and a woman soaked to the bone. The regulars barely glanced up from their drinks and card games as the new arrival shook off her cloak, revealing herself to be Narcissa Malfoy. She spotted Luna almost instantly, her sharp eyes fixing on the girl like a hawk. "Luna Lovegood," she said, approaching the table with a predatory grace. "I've been looking for you." Luna looked up from her book, blinking owlishly at Narcissa before closing it carefully. "You have?" she asked, not remotely surprised by this revelation. "How peculiar. I wasn't aware we had an acquaintance." "We don't," Narcissa admitted, taking a seat without invitation. "But I've heard much about you and your unique perspective on things." She waved her hand vaguely, as if encompassing all of Luna's peculiar beliefs. Luna tilted her head slightly to the side, considering this woman who had burst into the room like a storm. "You want something from me," she stated matter-of-factly. "Otherwise, you wouldn't be here." Narcissa smiled thinly. Indeed. She leaned forward, lowering her voice despite the fact that no one was paying them any mind. "I want you to find something for me, something valuable, lost long ago, and in return, I will make it worth your while." Intrigued but not entirely won over by Narcissa's promises of wealth or fame, Luna asked, "What is it that you seek?" "It is a mirror," Narcissa began, her voice barely above a whisper now. "A specter's mirror, said to hold the reflection of those who have been touched by dark magic, either as victim or practitioner." Luna listened intently, her eyes widening slightly behind her grimy glasses. She had heard whispers of such mirrors in her travels through Hogsmeade's more unusual nooks and crannies. They were reputed to be extremely rare, perhaps even mythical. "I believe this particular mirror once belonged to my mother," Narcissa continued, "but it was stolen from our family years ago by someone close to us. Someone unscrupulous." "And you want me to find this mirror?" Luna asked, leaning back in her chair and folding her arms thoughtfully. "Yes," Narcissa replied eagerly. "And once found, convince its current owner to relinquish it willingly, or not so willingly, if necessary." Her gaze grew steely at this point, leaving no doubt as to how far she was willing to go for this mirror. Luna considered the proposition seriously. It was true that she had always been fascinated by oddities and curiosities, and what could be more curious than a specter's mirror? Moreover, there was something about Narcissa Malfoy's desperation that stirred Luna's sense of adventure. She decided then and there that she would take on this challenge. "I will find your mirror, Mrs. Malfoy," Luna said solemnly, "but I cannot guarantee its return to you. Such powerful objects often have minds of their own." Narcissa seemed about to argue, but thought better of it. Instead, she nodded curtly and stood up from the table. "Very well, Miss Lovegood. I will await your report." With that, she swept out of the Three Broomsticks as dramatically as she had entered. As Luna watched her go, she couldn't shake the feeling that this task would not be quite as straightforward as it initially seemed. But then again, nothing ever was when it came to Luna Lovegood's adventures. Over the next few weeks, Luna threw herself wholeheartedly into researching Spectres' mirrors and their possible whereabouts. She pored over ancient books in Hogwarts' restricted section library during her free periods, consulted with Professor Binns, who knew more about magical artifacts than he let on, and even paid a visit to the eccentric and reclusive wandmaker, Mr. Garrick Ollivander. In his cluttered shop located somewhere off Diagon Alley, Luna found Ollivander more than happy to discuss Spectres' mirrors at length. He described them as being highly volatile objects that could drive anyone mad if stared into too long or used improperly. But despite his obvious enthusiasm for the subject matter, Ollivander proved unable to tell Luna where one might find such a mirror today. Undeterred by this setback, Luna turned her attention towards tracking down potential owners of these rare artifacts. She started by compiling a list of known dark magic practitioners throughout Britain, and then began visiting each one, or rather, their last known residences. It was painstaking work, made even more difficult by the fact that many of these individuals had gone to great lengths to hide themselves away from prying eyes. One particularly cold November afternoon found Luna trudging through a dense thicket in pursuit of what she believed might be the lair of some long-forgotten dark witch named Baba Yaga. According to legend, Baba Yaga possessed several enchanted objects, including, perhaps, a Spectres Mirror. Unfortunately for Luna, all she discovered within that gloomy copse was an old, abandoned cottage filled with nothing but dusty furniture and faded photographs. Still, she refused to let discouragement dampen her spirits. After all, every dead end brought her one step closer to finally uncovering the truth behind Narcissa Malfoy's lost heirloom. One evening, while returning from another fruitless expedition, this time searching for signs of a former Death Eater named Severus Snape, Luna noticed something peculiar about Hogwarts' humping willow. Its branches seemed twisted into an unnatural pattern, almost like words. Intrigued, she approached the tree cautiously, shielding her face from the occasional wayward switch as she studied its gnarled bark more closely. Yes, there were indeed letters carved deep into the wood, but they didn't form any language Luna recognized. She reached out tentatively, tracing her fingers along the groove of what appeared to be an M. As soon as she did so, a bright light flashed suddenly from within the trunk, momentarily blinding her. When Luna's vision cleared again, she found herself staring into the face of herself, or rather, another version of herself, standing within a hidden doorway revealed by the tree's magical inscription. This other Luna was dressed differently, her hair styled oddly, and there was something off about her eyes. They seemed almost hollow, as if all life had been drained from them. "What are you doing here?" Other Luna asked coldly, folding her arms across her chest. Caught off guard by this unexpected encounter, Luna stammered, I could ask you the same thing. I mean, who are you?" Other Luna sneered. "You really don't know, do you?" she taunted before turning away and disappearing into the darkness beyond the doorway. With no small amount of trepidation, Luna followed her doppelganger inside, finding herself in a vast underground chamber filled with row upon row of spectral reflections. Some were barely visible, little more than wisps of smoke. Others glowed brightly like lanterns. All were locked away behind heavy iron bars, trapped for eternity within their own nightmares. In the center of this macabre gallery stood a tall, imposing figure Luna recognized instantly as her own mother, Pandora Lovegood. But something was terribly wrong with Pandora, too. Her eyes burned like black holes, and she clutched a long, serpentine staff made entirely of dark glass. "What is this place?" Luna whispered, feeling the hairs on the back of her neck stand up straight as though sensing some ancient malevolence lurking nearby. "It's where I store my failures," Pandora replied dismissively, gesturing towards the imprisoned specters with her staff. "Those who couldn't hack it out there in the real world, like you, once upon a time." Luna gasped involuntarily at this revelation, but quickly composed herself again. So many questions swirled through her mind. Why had she never seen these reflections before? What exactly was her mother doing down here? Pandora seemed to anticipate Luna's queries, however. "Ah, yes," she said mockingly. "You're wondering how none of your precious Hogwarts friends ever mentioned seeing their own reflections trapped within this god-forsaken place." She laughed cruelly at Luna's horrified expression. "That's because I've cast a memory charm on every single one of them. Not that it did any good for you, my little rebel." Other Luna stepped forward suddenly, her eyes burning with hatred. "Give me the wand," she demanded hoarsely. "I deserve it more than anyone else now." Confused by this sudden betrayal from someone who looked just like herself, Luna hesitated before handing over her beloved Elder Wand without protest. Other Luna snatched it eagerly, gripping its handle tightly. as if afraid Luna might change her mind at any moment. But no sooner had the wand left her grasp did Pandora raise her staff high above her head and bring it crashing down upon Luna's skull with a sickening crunch of bone. Darkness claimed her immediately afterwards. When consciousness returned to Luna sometime later, she found herself locked away within one of those iron-barred cages alongside countless other spectral reflections. Her head throbbed mercilessly where Pandora had struck her unconscious earlier, but otherwise, there seemed no lasting damage done, apart from losing track entirely of how long she'd been trapped down here. Days felt like weeks underwater, weeks stretched into months above ground. Time held little meaning anymore for Luna confined beneath Hogwarts' hut, Whomping Willow like some long-forgotten treasure, waiting patiently to be rediscovered by future generations of curious explorers. Meanwhile, other Luna had taken up residence in Pandora's place as ruler over this strange underworld realm. She'd begun creating more specters, too, drawing upon memories stolen from unsuspecting individuals, unfortunate enough to cross paths with the real Luna Lovegood while they wandered lost through Hogwarts' hallowed halls late at night. Many recognizable faces soon filled those dark cages beside hers. Hermione Granger, wringing her hands anxiously over a pile of books she couldn't quite make sense of. Harry Potter crouched protectively above a tiny figure cradled in his arms, whom Luna didn't recognize immediately, until recalling Ron Weasley's terrified confession about losing his wand back during their third year together. As more prisoners arrived, so too did despair begin to consume Luna's heart completely. What purpose was there left anymore fighting against such overwhelming odds when everyone she cared for ended up captured eventually anyway? Then one day, something miraculous occurred. The door leading out from this subterranean prison simply swung open suddenly on its own accord without anyone needing to unlock it first. Cautiously optimistic, Luna stepped cautiously out into the dimly lit passage beyond her cell, only to be ambushed immediately by other Luna waiting patiently nearby, with Elder Wand poised threateningly in hand. "I knew you couldn't resist temptation forever," other girl hissed cruelly. "But now that you're finally free, maybe we should settle things between us once and for all?" "No," Luna replied firmly. "I won't fight you anymore because there's no point really trying to win when it only means someone else suffers instead." Other Luna sneered contemptuously at this declaration. "How noble," she taunted sarcastically. Yet still, she hesitated, holding wand pointed directly towards Heart Center. Taking advantage of this brief reprieve, Luna pleaded desperately, "Please don't make me do something I'll regret later on forever. Let's find a better solution together instead." As if responding to her desperate plea, the very walls surrounding them seemed to ripple and shift suddenly, revealing several hidden passages branching off into darkness beyond view. From within one such tunnel emerged a familiar figure dressed entirely in green robes. Albus Dumbledore himself. "You shouldn't be down here," the old headmaster admonished sternly upon noticing Luna standing there among captives still locked safely away behind bars. "But neither should you." Other Luna spat angrily back at him before turning again towards Luna with wand raised high overhead. "Don't do it," Dumbledore warned gravely, stepping closer still, yet keeping cautious distance between himself and young witch too. "Remember who you're pointing Elder Wand at. She's still your friend despite everything else happening around us right now." Other Luna faltered slightly beneath weight of such solemn reminder, but held fast nonetheless, determined not to back down easily. Luna couldn't blame her, really, after witnessing what lengths other Luna had gone through already, just trying desperately enough reach goals set out by Pandora originally once upon time ago. Yet even as Luna prepared herself mentally, prepare physically for confrontation, looming inevitably nearby, another unexpected interruption occurred. A sudden explosion rocked very foundations beneath their feet, sending everyone present sprawling violently onto ground hard below. Stunned momentarily from force of blast, everyone lay there groaning softly amidst debris scattered haphazardly everywhere across chamber floor. When finally able rise slowly back upright once more, Luna found herself staring up towards gaping hole torn open right through heart, Whomping Willow itself. A figure descended downwards, slowly from above ground level, silhouetted against bright daylight streaming directly overhead, none other than Hermione Granger herself. She carried both wand firmly clenched within one hand, alongside something else held tightly pressed against chest, with other arm wrapped securely protectively around. And lo and behold, as she stepped carefully down, final rung ladder remaining behind, revealed, clutched carefully within her grasp, was nothing less than the legendary Philosopher's Stone, gleaming vibrantly beside Elder, wand clasped tightly alongside too. Here, Hermione offered simply, presenting both magical artifacts outright towards Luna, without further hesitation or delay whatsoever. Overwhelmed yet humbled deeply nonetheless by such incredible gift offered freely, thus our heroine accepted gratefully. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible through tears welling up suddenly within eyes glistening brilliantly amidst scattered light around them too. Other Luna watched warily from distance, maintained carefully safe meanwhile. Her expression seemed unreadable initially, but gradually softened slightly when recognizing Elder. Wand safely returned, now held by person truly meant to wield it forevermore afterwards too. With wand and stone safely reunited once more back into her keeping, Luna turned confidently towards other Luna, standing there across empty chamber void left behind after recent cataclysmic events had occurred previously. "You want your revenge?" she asked calmly, steady voice devoid entirely any lingering resentment or anger harbored deep down inside herself anymore either. Other Luna nodded mutely, assenting silently. Her eyes burned brighter than ever, too, seeing reflected therein fiery resolve burning ardently strong within them, still yet tempered. Finally now, by mere hint, hope lingering stubbornly defiantly against odds, stacked heavily otherwise too. So together, side by side as allies once more reunited, miraculously amidst ruins left behind disaster, our two heroines set forth venturing forward together hand in hand seeking redemption offered freely too late for some, perhaps but certainly not lost cause entirely yet. And thus begins epic conclusion final chapter, awaiting eager readers worldwide, anxious to discover ultimate fate awaits beloved characters, featured throughout entire series adventures shared intimately together, a long journey lasting lifetimes, filled countless memories, cherished deeply forevermore.